I'm better than Naomi.
You weren't better than Naomi on Sunday. Can we bring that up? Or is that because you didn't sleep well? Or you weren't hydrated? I forgot what it was.
Okay, first off, I had no sleep. The Patriots lost.
Wait,
Why did that have an
Patriots
effect
won.
on you?
The
Patriots won.
They won.
Congratulations, they won!
Oh my
She was
God,
so
Brady!
devastated
No,
that
sorry,
she
I
lost
watched
the match,
it on
but
the
now
flight.
she found out that they won.
Sorry.
And now you must be elated.
I am the former champion. You should let me speak.
I
was watching the Super Bowl on the
Patriots
plane.
won.
I know the Patriots won.
Oh,
My
okay.
bad. I'm still tired, Daniel. Patriots won. We were watching it on the plane, which means I couldn't get sleep.
You can get sleep. Why? I didn't know you were such a Patriots fan.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, what a season.
As if they don't have too much on their plate. The Kings of Combat Sports Podcast, John and Wade. They'll talk about the things they did that day. They'll analyze the work of Vince and Triple H. Review of SmackDown. Review of SmackDown. SmackDown. Review of SmackDown. SmackDown. Review of SmackDown. SmackDown. Review of SmackDown.
It's John Pollock and Wai Ting, another riveting edition coming your way of Review of SmackDown.
It's going to be good. It's going to be a really, really good one.
I woke up this morning and I opened up a fortune cookie and it said, the greatest show ever coming in mere hours.
Yep.
So I'm excited. Valentine's Day in Anaheim, California.
Yeah.
As Morrow did work in a California Love reference.
Oh, did he?
On Valentine's Day. Morrow had quite a number of lines on this particular show.
Uh-huh.
Bray Wyatt started the program and came out alone. And earlier in the day, they had announced the rematch between Bray and John Cena for tonight in Anaheim. And the crowd just went nuts for Bray here with "You deserve it" chants.
I know, they did. He was a total babyface on this show.
Oh, and no one hated these "You deserve it" chants more than John Cena.
Yep.
And Bray cut his promo saying she never said this would be easy, that they would come to denounce you, and she, being Sister Abigail, said that they would try to steal his gift. She spoke truth, and so does he, and knew this day would come, and he has the whole world in his hand, and then says too much power can be a very scary thing, which that's our Donald Trump limit we go to on WWE programming.
It took me a second to realize that this was Bray's first WWE title.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really surprising, because typically a guy's first WWE championship win isn't the world title. But Bray, I guess, has always been in a bit of a weird place where from the moment he walked in, he felt like he was a main eventer and that he was above, like an IC belt.
He's been on this main roster 3.5 years.
Yeah, it's about time. So, he's always been in a weird place where he seems to be above the mid-tier belts, but not necessarily hot enough to win the world title. And, I mean, you can argue he's not necessarily even the hottest in the company right now, but I think it's about time to pull the trigger on him.
I'd agree. Not the hottest guy in the company, but in terms of Bray, I think he's at his hottest since his debut. And that's based on the last 2 nights we've seen him.
Thanks to Randy. I'll say, though, the promo, at least tonight, didn't really do a whole lot for me either.
Well, he says if you stand in his way, you will burn. Are you prepared to do that way as he criticized this promo? And he says the era of Wyatt is beginning, which got lots of cheers. And then Cena came out, and he notes the audience's respect for Wyatt and offers his own, but says Bray has brainwashed the audience and takes issue with "You deserve it." And he points to his shirt that says respect, earn it. He says no one deserves anything. They earn it. And the whole world just sees a target on his shoulder.
So anytime somebody chants "you deserve it," Cena thinks of that
He's
as
giving you the middle finger in his
weak.
head.
He thinks it's weak, and he thinks that's the result of brainwashing. So maybe Naomi's been doing some brainwashing too.
Maybe this is to start a "you have earned it" chant. Didn't he earn this? He won the match clean on Sunday. Did he not earn this championship?
Did he earn it? I guess, yeah, sure. In wrestling, I guess you could say that you've earned it. You're basically, yeah, sure.
In the context of professional wrestling, what does deserve mean? Like, you're not given this title in this fake world.
But the fans are chanting.
You've won it.
The fans are chanting as if they're not chanting in storyline.
Well, Cena's promo should have been directed at the audience, not Bray. He's like, dude, I did the work. I won this fucking thing from you. Get on these idiots.
Yeah.
So AJ comes out. He wants his rematch before John Cena gets his rematch. And they actually did do this segment right after the Royal Rumble in that opening segment of the show where they announced all the chamber matches or chamber participants, where Shane was with AJ and AJ says, I want my rematch after losing at the Rumble. And he said in that promo backstage, the Elimination Chamber does not count as the rematch.
Yeah.
So this was a logical argument from AJ. So the Chamber was not his rematch. Mm-hmm. However, if we're going to say that Elimination Chamber match doesn't count as the rematch,
well, neither should this.
Why would this three-way count as either Cena or Styles rematch?
And this will be addressed in Talking Smack.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that was quite it
was weird.
Confusing discussion as Brian seemed to be giving in to the checkmate that AJ presented. So AJ wants this rematch, says Cena is not a normal person because he rides a private plane. And he's beaten Cena and knows he can beat Bray Wyatt. So Daniel Bryan comes out, says both Cena and AJ are owed rematches, so he makes it a triple threat tonight. And Cena starts jumping up and down like a child, throwing a tantrum in excitement for this. And that was our opening segment.
Yeah, it wasn't until midway through the match that finally one of the announcers, JBL, mentioned that
I wrote that down too.
Cena, every time he was going for a pinfall, was going to attempt to break the all-time record.
It was an hour and 45 minutes into the show. I specifically wrote it down that we brought up this potentially massive story.
Yeah, and I feel every time Cena is involved in any type of title match from this point on, you should be emphasizing that fact as, you know, really kind of the biggest deal you could possibly have in all of professional wrestling. And the fact that, you know, they just did another title match here without any mention of it, I think was not really taking that big thing into account.
It's almost as though you can't take any title match involving Cena seriously until it's a big show or something where it's got a big buildup. Like, there's no believability in Cena. Well, granted, I mean, we just saw it with Bayley on Monday to a lesser degree, but something big happening on television or just some nothing pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, Cena shouldn't be involved to me in a title program until they're ready to do that, which whether it's SummerSlam or beyond.
And I think they could milk that storyline for like a whole year, you know, have Cena come close but lose a number of well-built matches. But I think the key is to at least make mention of it and build it up big.
Dean Ambrose is searching for Baron Corbin backstage, and then American Alpha took on the Ascension. It started with Gable out-wrestling Victor and suplexing him. American Alpha got sent to the floor, and they returned with double clotheslines off the top, and then they clear the ring. This was right out of most Steiner Brothers matches. I mean, this was just verbatim with Jason Jordan playing Rick and Chad Gable playing Scott Steiner on Valentine's Day, which I got your email at 2 a.m.
Oh, it was really
It was
funny.
rather amusing.
Somebody on Reddit posted a Valentine's card written from their girlfriend.
I thought he wrote it to his girlfriend.
No.
Oh, she wrote it to him.
Yeah, she wrote it to him.
Okay.
Because I guess this guy has showed his girlfriend the Scott Steiner 33 and a third whatever promo a number of times. So she wrote a Valentine's card to him in the voice of Scott Steiner, and it's great.
And like misspelt as though it was Scott Steiner writing this.
Spelt with the Scott Steiner lisp. And, just fantastic.
Yeah, so you can. I'm sure you can go hunt that one down. They returned, and Victor. The Steiners were running wild, and then we come back from break, and guess who was not running wild any longer? The tide had turned. They're keeping Gable away from Jordan, and then he eventually rolled under a clothesline attempt, tagging in Jordan, who suplexed both. Jordan missed a running tackle into the corner. Gable tagged back in. There was a double team elevated slam by the Ascension, and Gable kicked out, and then Connor got sent to the floor. They hit the Grand Amplitude and pinned Victor for the win.
It was solid, but I'll say at this point kind of formulaic, American Alpha match. I mean, they do this match great. I feel like it's the only match that we've seen from them, though. But it's good. I think they have shortcomings on the mic, obviously, but I think the one thing they really do well is this type of match. And, as long as they get to showcase it, I feel like they'll stay afloat. I thought the Ascension were pretty solid here, too. Again, the characters suck, but I think in ring they seem like, pretty solid heavyweights.
Then the Usos appeared on the screen. I don't know where they were. They looked like they were in a trailer that was lit for the Wyatts.
They were like in a flatbed truck, with a light shot and backlit. Yeah.
They bring up their attacks on American Alpha from the past and says when something creeps up on you, it isn't paranoia, it's the Usos threatening to stalk them, I guess.
That's right. I guess they're reminding us why they have beef. And, it's cool we finally get to hear the Usos speak in their personas. We get to hear them speak a bit on Talking Smack, but that's as their very likable, real selves, not in their new heel characters, which I think have really not been given a voice since they've turned heel until this point. They didn't say a whole lot here, but, they gave us a bit of a preview of their personalities, and essentially they're just they're really thugged out dudes, with grills, almost comedically. They're just maybe one step above Crime Time in terms of believability right now.
Yeah, watching this, I mean, I always say it. I really enjoy the Usos in this new persona. And I almost wish they were left out of the Tag Team Turmoil match and we could have just saved them for this program after. Why beat them on Sunday and they're one of 5 teams that lose in that Turmoil match? I mean, keep one team fresh for post-Elimination Chamber.
Perhaps, yeah. Perhaps.
They didn't even bring up really. I mean, I guess they reference it verbally here, the attack, but it was, to me, I don't know. I didn't see any need to have them in that match. It's just lost in the shuffle here. But nonetheless, I like this program direction for American Alpha. James Ellsworth was with Carmella and asks her for dinner on Valentine's Day. And Carmella says that he's cute, but they need to keep it professional. Ambrose walks in looking for Corbin and tells James that Carmella is using him and he should try online dating. Carmella calls Dean a gas station attendant and wants James to stand up for her when Bryan waltzes in and Ambrose asks to beat up Ellsworth and he makes a match between the two for later. Ellsworth and Carmella are in the ring after the break and James did this big introduction for Carmella and then Dean's music played, but Corbin drags Ambrose out. He has found Dean, attacks him at the entrance area. Ambrose strikes back, leaped off the production equipment, and then he runs at Baron, who lifts him up for a deep 6 into the production equipment, complete with sparks flying.
I need to know what kind of technology was in this.
This has never happened to you? You've never tripped on equipment in the control room and sparks fly?
I've never had sparks fly.
This was on sparklers from the 4th of July.
I've never had sparks fly off of falling into draped off with the tarp equipment.
Oh, you're just not experienced to the American amps that they use.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Is that what they have over there? Amps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ambrose had gone through this table. Then the sparks went off from the table break.
I'd be afraid of electrocution.
Yeah, they were fine.
He's okay?
Yeah. I don't know why these were there, but this just made it comedic as we were looking over Dean through this broken table, and we were staring at a plate of cookies that were just there for the production team, I guess. They recap the Nikki and Natalya brawl from Elimination Chamber, and then we transition to Bryan with Nikki in his office. Nikki says that she has to defend herself, and Bryan has an idea. As Natalya walks in, they start arguing. Natalya attacks her. Security comes and has to pull them apart. And Bryan is losing it. He's yelling, "Let go of her hair!" And then he furiously announces that they will have a Falls Count Anywhere match. And before he storms off, he just yells, "Jesus!" Which was the equivalent of Daniel Bryan. This was his version of fuck.
Yeah.
Man, Jesus.
I know.
This was an upgrade from, oh my gosh.
No, he actually invoked the name.
We had how many weeks of the CWC and we never got a Jesus out of this guy. Brian strikes me as an agnostic type that would not really channel Jesus as a go-to.
Well, what do you think is next? What's the next level?
Christ!
Yeah, I like a Falls Count Anywhere match. I think the booking of it seems to have obviously led towards this, and it makes total sense from where they've come. I assume that it would be the blow-off, but I wonder, with still like 5 weeks to go after that fact, I wonder if they'll keep it going or if they'll just completely get rid of it for Maurice.
Yeah, there was no follow-up with Maurice, which I would expect somehow gets involved in this match next week.
Or could they have decided to scrap it at this point? Because we got none of that at all.
There was nothing with Cena and Miz, and there was no follow-up on Maurice. I certainly don't throw the idea out that they may reshuffle things. I think it's I don't know. I just feel with Cena, there's so many better options for him.
Yeah.
And I just feel this year it could just be better suited, especially if Cena is leaving after WrestleMania to put that one guy over that's just all of a sudden really hot coming out of WrestleMania and not The Miz.
The one thing that would, I think, justify putting Cena in a mixed tag match at WrestleMania is if he does that rumored proposal. That would be a WrestleMania moment that I think would actually make that whole thing worthwhile. But how are you going to propose in surprise now that the internet is, discussing this proposal?
That audience will go nuts when he gets down on one knee.
So yeah, I know, but I'm saying the reaction will not be genuine at all. You know what I mean? It won't be a surprise for Nikki, is what I'm saying.
It'll be out there to many people. I don't think it'll be a surprise.
You don't think it'll be out there for her? You don't think she's getting tweeted and Instagrammed all the time about, hey, did you hear John's going to propose to you at WrestleMania?
Well,
come on. I don't see the value of it really anymore unless they work the whole thing.
We'll see where this goes. I feel that that's definitely a match that, they're not hinting towards it beyond this powder falling on Maurice, which maybe that will become a forgotten element. Dasha interviewed Corbin backstage. He says he isn't champion because of Ambrose, and now he's in the hospital because of him. We go back to the announce desk, and there were a number of these moments where we go to the announce desk, and it was Tom and JBL that had to talk, as Morrow and Otunga just sat there, staring at the camera, and it was so awkward.
Yeah.
It was like this conversation was going on as though they were ignoring Morrow and Otunga. Like they just have to sit there, and they're not even looking at JBL and Tom. They're just looking at the camera and nodding. It was like, this doesn't work.
It looks really awkward. And what do you think the deal is with that? The whole Tom Phillips thing?
I have no idea, because he's being more and more involved. He's not just the guy that's throwing the break and coming back like the host role like he was first installed as. He's now getting involved in the matches, and it's getting more clunkier. It's just not working to me.
Do you think it's a transition? Are they transitioning Morrow off of the panel? Or is it maybe like a backup in case Morrow has to do like a Showtime gig or something like that? I don't know.
He's never, though, going to have to do a Showtime gig on a Tuesday, so right. I don't think it's that issue. I don't know. I really don't know what the end result is, but it's just like Otunga has never fit here, and people may not be a fan of the 4-man team or even the 3-man team, but I will say on Raw, Byron does know how to play the third man and lay out, and there's a good back and forth with Graves and Byron with Cole as the quarterback. And I think that team works much more effectively than this one, where it feels like everyone's on different pages. And it was very notable on Tuesday how much better Morrow sounds on 205 Live and playing off of Austin and Corey than SmackDown. So this was repeated throughout with this just awkward, just sitting there. Renee speaks to Dolph backstage and asks him about some people calling you a sore loser. And I love these like leading questions. It's some say, it's like, wait, some people say you're a piece of shit. How would you respond to that? Not me, of course, but some people think you're fucking scum and you should be in jail. What do you have to say about that? It's just like, it's carte blanche to just give someone the most rude insult without taking any ownership of the insult yourself. It's some say.
The questions are definitely very clearly written by people who have never asked an interview question once in their lives.
Some say.
That's just...
It's like, some say
really
is
rude.
The tip-off to ask someone like the most disrespectful question. So Ziggler says that Kalisto and Cruz were literally sore losers, which was not true because they would be sore winners on Sunday.
Yes.
They did win the match, but were sore afterwards. And then he brought back the extinct term, the new era.
The new era.
The new era people think that they are here to replace him, and he'll wipe out an entire generation if he needs to. No one steals the show but him, and some are going to be put in their place.
The new era.
The new era, guys.
Maybe he meant the hat maker.
The hat maker?
Yeah. They're going to replace me with baseball caps. Well, they're wrong.
Oh, boy. That's James Ellsworth's gimmick with the backwards baseball hat. God, with Dolph, like, he should be a crying wolf. Like, that should be his gimmick.
Crying wolf?
Yeah.
I think that's Baron's. He and Baron could team together.
The crying wolves.
Yeah. Well, Dolph, I think in recent weeks, he had some momentum heading into the Rumble, but I feel like the lack of anything at the Rumble totally killed it. And since then, they really haven't followed up with him at all. So the character, I feel, has undergone a bit of a change again. Now he's playing a guy who just, isn't frustrated at his own position, but now he's trying to defend his generation from this quote-unquote new era. He's essentially playing Mickie James, but on the male side. And the promo was fine, but I feel like right now Dolph is in a big need of a change. And the promo style has slightly changed, but I was hoping for a bigger refresh. New look, drastically different promo style, maybe new music. The same type of makeover that you would see a Chris Jericho, undergo. And I don't know. I'm not that excited by what's going on with it.
It just feels we're right back to start with this character, and it was last year when everyone was said, well, he needs a fresh change, he needs to turn. Well, then we got the turn, and we're right back where we started, and we're going back, well, he needs a change. It's like
the turn is a start.
Nothing's changing.
The turn is a start, but it has to, it can't just be a shitty low-card turn with the same outcome for every match that he's had.
And no one's taken to the turn. I mean, he was treated as the total babyface in that beatdown at the Chamber pay-per-view. Becky Lynch and Mickie James had a rematch from Sunday, and they showed a clip of Mickie James that was so heavily edited from Talking Smack. If you heard her answer on Talking Smack, it was just like this run-on, and you had just these constant cuts of like the zoom in and the zoom out to condense her answer to set this up. James goes right back to the arm that she worked over on Sunday. Becky takes Mickey's arm into a hammerlock and then into a bridge with the arm tied. Becky then shoved James to the floor, and Becky goes back to working her arm, went for a springboard, knocked James off the apron with a side kick, and then a double clothesline spot took them to commercial. They come back. Becky hit a Beck-sploder for a 2 count. James with a flapjack. And then Becky used forearm strikes to knock Mickey to the floor, holds her shoulder upon landing, and Becky just tosses her back in. The referee is checking on Mickey, who says she thinks she has a separated shoulder, and then as Becky is backing off, first of all, this should be like in MMA. If you're too hurt to defend yourself, the fight's waved off. You don't get time to recover in a match.
It's happened in wrestling, too.
Yes, so Becky then gets suckered with a spinning wheel kick by Mickey, and Mickey pins her, with Morrow noting that the Oscars aren't for another 2 weeks. And that was a performance of a lifetime from Mickey.
It was. But I would say even in MMA, they would get the doctor to check first.
If you're
calling it off.
If you have an injury, it's going to be waved off. Like, you won't get...
She claimed she might have a separated shoulder.
Yeah, like they would check in between rounds. But if it's during a round, I mean, outside of a groin shot, like, there's not going to be a timeout.
I feel like we've seen instances where they just like stop the match.
Well,
Check for like eye poke, for instance. But I mean, that's more of a DQ scenario.
Right. I mean, that's a foul.
Either way,
this was perfectly within this. She threw her to the floor. She had aspirations of injuring her and succeeded.
I thought Mickey James was great here.
Let's call her Mick.
Yeah, I thought Mick was great here. Mick. Oh, yeah, like Mick Foley, yeah. The look on Mick's face as she shouts at the ref to cover after revealing she was playing possum was just great. I thought the match was really good, and, you know, Becky must be really happy to be working with somebody like Mickey who, I mean, outside of Natalya on this SmackDown roster, there's really no one else here for her to have these kinds of matches with. So I think Mickey, you really see the value of somebody like her. And if I were the WWE, I'd strongly consider bringing back some of your older talent who could still go. People like Gail, you know. And I hear maybe even. Do you think Trish will come back at any point?
No, I don't. I mean, she just had a child a month ago. I cannot see her looking at wrestling anytime soon. So, did I ever tell you my theory on the Trish NXT takeover thing? Because everyone was stating at the time, man, this spot had to be for Trish. And then
was it not? Were they not actually considering it?
Well, when Paul Levesque did the conference call ahead of that, he said it was always designed for Mickey. However, that week when they announced Mickey at the as the opponent at the tapings, that Monday, all of a sudden WWE posts a story that Trish is expecting a child. I was like, well, how did they find that out? They had to have called her. Someone had to have contacted Trish and probably informed them, yeah, guys, I'm actually pregnant and on the verge of having my second child, so I cannot do this. And then that Wednesday, they did the tapings, and Mickey wasn't even there. She had to send in a video because she was overseas. So I'm not saying that it was 100% Trish that they had in mind, but the things line up like it was Toronto. It makes all the sense in the world that you would have wanted Trish for that spot, and they probably didn't know she was pregnant.
Interesting.
So there you go. That's me playing detective.
Though I feel like a Trish return should be bigger than NXT. You know, a Trish return is something you could do at a pay-per-view on the main roster for sure.
Sure. You could do that at some point. Renee was then in the ring with Naomi, who's got a brace on her left knee, and noted that she suffered an injury in the match and she didn't realize it until she got back to her hotel room that for all these hours since the match, she had an injury. And said she's worked 8 years to get here, and no matter what, she will enter WrestleMania as the women's champion.
She sounded really confident, you know, and you have to wonder if, I mean, she's been sounding very confident over the past several weeks, but I'm sure having the belt, just having it, adds something because, I mean, it's really more so like having the confidence of the company behind you and knowing that, you know, the bookers have faith in you to have the spotlight like this, that I'm sure gives her an actual confidence boost, which I feel like is really kind of her biggest issue, especially when it comes to promos, is just not really having the ability to completely, let herself come out when she's cutting promos. But I feel like in recent weeks she's really improved in that department.
Alexa Bliss interrupted her, says that she dreamt up this injury because she knows she's got a rematch coming with Alexa. And the crowd is booing Alexa, and instead of doing the like over the top yelling at the fans, she just like so discreetly just said, "Shut up." Yeah, it was great. I thought it was really well done. And so, you don't have to yell and be over the top all the time. This was so much more effective.
She plays that like hateable, cocky, mean girl really well.
She says Naomi's going to be a flop and could have her own 30 for 30 special called Lights Out. And it could be a drama and a tragedy. And tells her family that they can all still come to WrestleMania after she gives Naomi a real injury, and she'll even buy them tickets. Naomi responded with the best insult on the show, calling Alexa a little flea. And Bliss is going to give Naomi 1 week to get ready for the rematch. And this ends with the announcers stating nothing, and JVL just starts saying, "Why isn't anyone talking?" We were
I'll tell you why.
different pages.
I'll tell you why. It's probably because, Morrow probably thought it was Tom's turn to talk, and then Tom probably thought it was Morrow's turn to talk.
There's definitely something going on, because I noted this last week when they were going to the break and we had two separate graphics of matches coming up and there was no voiceover going to break. And it just seems like there's definitely some communication issue.
Yeah.
And this was another example of that.
I thought Alexa, again, was really strong in her performance here. Strong enough to create...
I watched this way, and I want this to be the WrestleMania match. I feel they did this a month too soon.
Man, I'll tell you, I thought this was only going to be a temporary placeholder feud for Alexa because, Naomi, I think, was up and coming, but I didn't think she would really be fitting for actually holding the title, much less, another rematch. But I really have to kind of commend them for elevating this program from what I considered to be the B program compared to Becky and Mickey into what seems like a very worthy title match feud between the two. So I think they're both doing great jobs, and I like the fact that they're using Naomi's injury to their advantage in booking the match for next week. Now Alexa, using her rematch clause, poses a very believable threat for her going after the injured champion.
Well, maybe they can have a three-way next week that doesn't count as Alexa's rematch, and they can save the rematch, the singles rematch, for WrestleMania, as we have learned. New developments in the ill-fated rematch clause.
Yeah, the WrestleMania is just kind of... How many women's matches do you see at WrestleMania between Raw and SmackDown?
I mean, definitely two.
At least, obviously.
I really hope that we don't just get the throw all the women together.
I really don't either.
I just want a singular women's program, and I'm fine with the multi-women's match on Raw because they're certainly building in that direction. They're not building in that direction. There are no issues that are all intertwined.
Nikki is certainly kind of on her... Nikki and Natalya have kind of been on their own. On SmackDown. Actually, all the girls... I mean, they've been on their own, but Alexa, Mickey, Becky, and Naomi are kind of tied together.
I could see 3 women's matches.
Honestly,
you have a lot of time to fill.
You can make an argument that with the strength of the women's divisions right now, you can make an argument for 4, at least, the women are more over now and being more taken seriously now than they've ever been.
If Naomi were to have a singles program at WrestleMania, who would be the leading candidate to be that challenger?
I feel it won't. Alexa.
Well, if they're going to do this rematch, though, I feel they're ending that. That would be my choice.
Yeah, I mean, the other top heel is what, Natalya, and then
Natalya or Carmella.
Mickey. No, Carmella's not getting that title match yet. Carmella and Naomi at WrestleMania, I don't know about that. It'll be maybe a triple threat, something like that.
Then we had TJ Perkins do a 205 Live promo. Have you noticed the font on his new shirt is done in the style of the Nintendo Power magazine?
Oh, I did not notice that.
Yes.
Wow, what a dork. Man, Perkins talking here.
We'll get to the face-to-face later. The face-to-face was so much more cringy than this.
But, man, this dude is definitely beginning to attract X-Pac heat. And even in...
Xbox heat?
Xbox heat, yeah. He just comes across like a kid, in a 90s fruit snack commercial or a Capri Sun commercial. Brad, yeah. He just looks like a real dork, man. And I know that's kind of the gimmick, but...
I'm coining that term, mine.
Sure.
Xbox heat.
Xbox heat. Xbox heat is great. I just... I think the crowd is starting to turn on him.
Well, maybe they want that. I'm hoping.
I don't think it's intentional at all.
Well, he says that he was the first Cruiserweight champion, and he'll be the next Cruiserweight champion, and states by beating Neville on 205 Live, that will take him one step closer to becoming the champion again. Mm-hmm. That was confusing for the average viewer, to basically say, I've got a non-title match coming up on the next show.
Well,
I'm going to be the next champion, but that won't happen tonight. I've got to win this match in order to get the match in which I can become the next champion, and that has to happen before the next challenger, Jack Gallagher, gets his title match at Fastlane. Christ!
He's got to say something.
This was deceptive for people tuning in. I think they would be confused that you were getting a title match. Main event time. This was a title match. 3-way involving Bray Wyatt, John Cena, and AJ Styles. JBL notes this is the arena where Shawn Michaels had his Iron Man match with Bret Hart. It was also the arena where Ronda Rousey submitted Kat Zingano in 14 seconds. So you don't know what you're getting.
Damn. Yeah. Wow.
And says that AJ is basically today's version of Shawn Michaels and says he is a man that cannot have a bad match.
I mean,
he's backing
true.
up JBL's theory.
Yep. Very
Certainly
believable.
continued that streak tonight.
Yep.
Bray made his entrance, and then Luke Harper appeared at ringside, attacking Bray, sent him into the barricade and super kicked him, and then the match began during the break as we came back, and it's Cena and Styles going at it, and the crowd electric. You want to start off a match hot? Just put these two together. The crowd no audience can tire of these two.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the match you know you want, even before you get it, unlike Randy's theory the other way.
Yeah. At this point, it's a little... I mean, you could make the argument that it's a little exhausted, but every time they're in there, it's still awesome. And, I don't know, it doesn't feel really tired at all.
Bray returns by pulling Cena to the floor and sends him into the steps, and then Styles leaps to the floor with a forearm onto Bray. And this is when JBL mentions that Cena could break Flair's record tonight.
Just casually.
It was like this... I think Otunga even said, "Oh, yeah."
Ridiculous. Like, could you imagine in baseball, like Mark McGwire is about to break the home run record, and then nobody makes any.
Hey guys, that was number 62. I think it was. Oh yeah. Yeah.
The drama of every at bat where he was potentially breaking that record was something incredible, and that's the drama that you could achieve with every Cena match.
That literally revived the sport of baseball after the strike.
Every near fall, every pinfall Cena goes for in a scenario like this should receive a massive reaction.
Yeah, it shouldn't be done. Like, as great as this match was, you're right. Like, this Cena going for the title should not just be some throwaway main event that gets 12 hours promotion.
Yeah.
So Styles goes to the floor and Bray stops in AA. He goes for the Sister Abigail, which Styles stops with a phenomenal forearm, and Cena capitalizes, hitting the AA to Styles, who kicks out of it. Bray then hit the Sister Abigail to Cena, but Styles makes the save. Clearly, they don't want to make the Sister Abigail a near-fall finish, which was smart.
It was the only thing that wasn't kicked out of.
No, and good for them. Yeah. They did such a great job protecting and making that finish strong on Sunday. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't be a near fall at this point. They return from the break. Styles is in the midst. We come back, and Styles is literally jumping off of the barricade.
This was really interesting because I've never seen them go through so much in the body of a break. I mean, they go to break, and then we come back, and Styles is mid-dive, essentially.
I had to rewind to make sure this wasn't a mistake.
All the drama of the setup for the table spot took place during the actual break, so... We came back and Styles is essentially just like trying to finish the...
He splashes Bray on the announcer's desk and it doesn't break. Mm-hmm. It did not break. And he then climbed back up and hit a leg drop, putting Bray through the table. Crowd's going nuts for this. Styles then goes for the phenomenal forearm. Cena stops and puts him on his shoulders for the AA, then lifts him up to go for a second one, which Cena counters and applies a calf crusher. Cena counters out of that into the STF, and Bray breaks that with a senton, tosses AJ to the floor, and then Cena catches Bray with an AA, and Bray kicks out of it. Styles comes back with a Styles clash to Cena for a near fall, and then Styles goes for a springboard, gets knocked off by Cena, and then he turns around into the Sister Abigail, and Bray pins Cena. Excellent match to cap off SmackDown.
It was a great match. The philosophy behind it is what I find interesting, because they were wrestling this match basically like it was a continuation of Sunday's match with the chamber lifted. After the three of them had been the only ones remaining. There was no time really dedicated at all to kind of like the feeling out process that you typically get in a long match like this. They just broke into near falls, and I'm not sure if it was due to time cut or what, but it totally worked either way. You know,
they still went 18 minutes here.
Oh my God, and it was incredible. I mean, got this crowd right from the beginning. And the only fumble, I would say, is the lack of the Cena mention. I'll also say having Luke Harper attack Bray to really no consequence at all didn't necessarily do the best for Luke Harper, although it just kind of keeps him in here, in the mix.
Yeah, it looked like they just wanted to force Harper's presence onto this show somewhere, and I guess they figured this was the best way to do it. Before the show ended, Randy's music played, and he came out, got into the ring very slowly, and stared at Bray, and says that he won the Royal Rumble, but now Bray is the champion, and therefore he refuses to face Bray at WrestleMania as long as Bray is the master and he is the servant.
Yeah.
You are China, I am the cat. And pledged his undying allegiance to Bray.
Did you hear the? Sorry to cut in, but
You're forgiven.
Anyway, this is all there was. You basically went through it.
Well, yeah, and Bray just laughed as Randy got on his knees bowing to him, and Bray told him he has the keys to the kingdom.
Right.
So the key line was, as long as you are the master and I am the servant.
Oh, so what do you think that means?
I think we're going to do, as much as people will defer and say, what, this makes the Rumble pointless, I disagree. I say it makes this Battle Royal next week pointless, and we will still have the exact same match at WrestleMania.
Unless we get another contender that they'll maybe force into a three-way.
I would hate that.
I would hate that too.
I think that goes right against the story, and yeah, I don't like that at all.
But to do a Battle Royal next week for a number one contender and have that result basically be moot, I think would be a disservice unless they were able to explain somehow, or maybe Randy would enter under a hood. Who's this man with all these tattoos? He does the arcade. I don't know. Anyway, I thought for a second we'd see
El Hijo del Bob Orton.
Oh, yes. I thought for a second we'd actually see a turn here, but I like the fact that they're taking it so slow.
I think it would be too early to do the turn. And
plus, we just had Jericho.
Exactly.
But I noticed on this episode of SmackDown, which I thought was a good show, very strong matches and good storyline development, but they're taking a lot of time with their slow build towards all the programs heading into Mania, and that's largely because there's so much time in between. But they've revealed just enough to keep you guessing and keep you interested. So what I feel like we'll see is, rather than have a pay-per-view break up these 7 weeks, they're probably going to slowly build into kind of, main events for each of the programs in the weeks throughout. And
we have 6 weeks, 6 more episodes of SmackDown and Raw until WrestleMania.
I'm
so
enjoying it.
You do have to pace this. If you were to do Orton's reveal now, the hell are you going to do for 6 weeks?
Right.
That feud will be on its last legs by the time we get to WrestleMania.
Yeah. But on the topic of the cat and China, did I saw Ryan Satin report. Or somebody somewhere reported about the reason why Emelina did what she did on Monday.
Yeah.
And it was because in dress rehearsal, the people involved, the producers weren't happy with how she was performing with the character, which was supposed to be some type of throwback to Sable and the cat.
Really weren't...
Like, what exactly would that character be?
I don't know, because the cat and Sable, I mean, other than...
And why would you even cite the cat? Like, what the hell, like, the cat do?
They were very different characters. I mean, they were...
Well, they're just, like, kind of like these, like, I guess, sexual ballet types.
Yeah, very much based around that. So, I didn't quite understand, like, what the issue was that didn't... I guess they just feel Emma didn't...
She couldn't play the sexual, sexy vixen type of character as well?
So there's only one solution.
What? MMA?
Get those Everlast gloves. Mouthpiece.
I don't know if she...
A literal mouthpiece, not a manager.
I don't know how her submission skills are. I don't know how her jiu-jitsu is. I don't know if she could pull that off.
Probably better than Nikki Bella's.
Maybe. There is a girl on NXT.
That can be her opponent.
Right.
MMA against... Nikki with her she'll train with Daniel Bryan to develop her Nikki Mora.
Thank you.
He's shaking his head at me, everyone.
But the NXT has a MMA girl.
Daria, yes.
Yeah.
Well, poor Emma doesn't look to have much going for her, is the conclusion of this story.
Man,
and I almost wish they didn't even put her out on Monday. For all the jokes that would have been made for her yet again not appearing, that was such a stupid idea on Monday, to just have her come out and denounce Emelina.
I guess she had to do something.
No,
after
she
so many
didn't.
Weeks.
Not if it was
What?
that.
You think those promos should have just ended out of nowhere?
Keep it like that
Keep
was
it
the
going?
joke.
Keep it going?
Wait, what would another week have hurt?
I guess.
Come up with an idea first for her.
Right.
Not coming out and saying all this time it's not happening.
So, but for her to tease Emelina, the makeover, and then have her come back out as whatever older persona she had, there's not really a joke there. You know, there's no punchline. Not to say there was much
exactly.
of a punchline here. Not to say there was much of a punchline here, but at least she was explaining how she'll
Have an
revert.
idea for what this Emelina character. Okay, it's not going to be this. Let's come up with a better idea and wait to debut her with a plan.
It's a very unfortunate mess for somebody who I think is a very talented performer.
Who's also going to come back now, probably in the next few weeks, with a new character. This is going to be totally lost in the Mania
I don't
build.
even think it'll be a new character. It'll probably just be whatever she was doing before.
Like, to me, it's okay. If we have no better idea,
Yeah.
she could have just been Charlotte's latest. Her muscle comes to help her defend the title. Pair her there.
Yes, but then
Charlotte's horsewomen.
They could do that. They could do that.
There's already the connection of Dana and Emma.
Yeah.
To me, it's just the more I look at it, I just feel that Bayley title change would have been so big if you did it at WrestleMania. That to me was an ideal place to end this streak, which I really feel they had this idea like this streak is going to become the greatest thing ever.
It's going to be the next Taker streak.
Well,
yeah, I don't see it ending at Mania.
It's just funny that we look at this streak and why it's so important is because it can only be beaten once.
Yep.
The one time is why it means so much.
Yep.
And yet we throw this title on Bayley and totally disregard that philosophy of what the first time means.
Perhaps their feeling is that we want Bayley with the title at some point. I mean, I get the feeling that also that rather than have the championship be kind of like the ultimate goal for these girls, they're kind of using the championships as a springboard to elevate these girls to that top level rather than having it be...
It feels like the streak now is the unofficial championship. That's what is
Sure.
going to become the focus to go after rather than... I mean, everyone
the
can win the women's title multiple times. There's nothing new in that.
The undefeated at pay-per-view streak?
Yes.
I don't know if Sasha or Bayley could ever chase that. They've already lost many times on pay-per-view.
No, I'm stating to beat Charlotte at a pay-per-view
right.
becomes the prize to go after.
Perhaps. It's so weird, though. Here's this person who
loses all the time.
Yeah, who could lose any time. But, I mean, Taker was sort of the same thing, though. I mean, but Taker
but he wasn't losing clean all the time on TV or even at pay-per-views. I mean, his losses were very protected even outside of WrestleMania.
Right.
If he lost, it was for a reason, typically at the Rumble or something to build up his Mania program, but it was always done strategically. This is just... It just happens all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
It's strange.
Talking Smack. Did you see Talking Smack and 205 Live?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, Talking Smack started with Renee Solo as Brian was late for the show, but then hustled in. And Renee says we don't have a WrestleMania main event any longer. Brian arrives stating he just spoke to Shane, and Daniel will not be accompanying him to Washington for the photo op. Could you have imagined that?
Daniel Bryan
Oh, my
shows up.
God. The American Dragon with the other American Dragon.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure this is it's a scenario that goes on anywhere, in any type of corporate structure.
They announced next week we will have a battle royal with the winner becoming the new number one contender at WrestleMania, and Brian blames Renee for jinxing this main event.
Yeah.
So Orton has renounced his title shot at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
The first guest is Alexa Bliss, who mocks Naomi having to take 8 years to win a title she won in 5 months. She's going to injure Naomi further and then buy her a ticket for WrestleMania, and says that Naomi should not be celebrating 8 years of losses. And they argue, and Bliss says, and they state that maybe Alexa's starting strong, but she's going to burn out quickly, and she disagrees. Bliss says she lost the title because she was tired, and the Patriots lost. And all of a sudden, Brian and Renee just look at one another. They're like, what did you say? The Patriots won. Yeah. And Alexa just had, this was...
Deer in the headlights.
Oh, this was awesome.
What did I just do?
She was like, no, I mean, I was I was watching the game on the flight, and like, first of all, the game was like a week before Elimination Chamber.
Where is she from?
She's from Massachusetts.
Oh my God! And how could she make a mistake like that?
Let's get this right. I mean, she is clearly. No, it just says she is from. Oh, she's from Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Well,
I guess she's a Patriots fan by geographic proximity to New England as opposed to Atlanta.
I guess she has a bit of an excuse.
Anyway, so this became the running joke on the show, and Brian is making fun of her. Bliss is calling him rude, and she just walks off after this, and Brian's stating, listen, if I had thought the Seahawks lost the Super Bowl last weekend, and then 2 weeks later I found out they won, I'd be so happy. I'd be doing backflips, realizing my team won, and here I had thought they had lost. Yeah. Then we got Apollo Crews entering, and his first line is, hey, you hear about the Patriots? The best line Apollo Crews has ever uttered.
Most personality we've seen from Apollo Crews in his run. Alexa, I thought she did great on SmackDown, and I think for the most part she did well on this appearance of Talking Smack as well. But with the unscripted format of these things, you make a mistake like that, and people are gonna jump on it. And it was almost a little cringeworthy seeing her react to it.
I still thought it was funny.
It was certainly funny, and I feel like they could have done a better job playing it into her character, making excuses. I mean, Brian should have said, you didn't even watch the game. You didn't even know the team lost or the team won. So obviously you're faking your excuses.
She should have just doubled down and said, no, you get your ass kicked for 3 quarters. You lost. That's not a real win. I would not be proud if I was Tom Brady.
That would have been a save.
How about that?
That would have been saving it. But Alexa was certainly caught off guard by her mistake and seemed very embarrassed by it.
Yes. Just like I controlled the match on Sunday, and Naomi just lucked her way in to that victory.
Right.
Naomi and the Patriots are losers.
Oh. Well, she didn't even watch the game, obviously.
So Apollo is on, and they replay Ziggler's comments from earlier. And Crews says he's not here to take anyone's spot. Ziggler took away his ability to compete tonight after the chair attack to his ankle, and says that there comes a time when his smile has to go away. And Crews then gives his life story at the prodding of Daniel Bryan, stating his parents came from Nigeria, and he went to a military high school, and it was there that he formed this camaraderie and values friendship so highly because of his experiences there, and therefore it really affects me when Dolph goes after my friend Kalisto. Mm-hmm. Holy shit. Like, Renee was stunned here at just the depth we have gone into in 3 minutes with this guy who never is given these opportunities on television. He is just this walking guy that's drunk on muscles, who just smiles. That's it. That's the smiling guy is this guy. And here he's given 3 minutes to talk and got more over in 3 minutes than he has in the last year on this roster. And I'd include his NXT time too.
Yeah. Agreed. I agree. And I think Paulo is probably one of those guys who probably doesn't impress too many people in the back when he's given a chance to, perform on the microphone. So settings like these, I think, are really important for him to, get his story out, and also for a chance to develop a promo style or a public speaking style that's a bit more relaxed and a bit more, natural for his own personality. I will say, even on a Talking Smack, he's very soft spoken.
Yeah.
And in pro wrestling, that's kind of death. You know what I mean? So even in a setting like this, I didn't find him really to be as compelling as, say, somebody like a Baron Corbin, who, I would also say performs better on these shows than in a promo. But certainly, Cruz's story is great, and I feel like he just needs to, be able to perform it at a bit of flash, in his speaking.
I really liked him here. I think the best stuff WWE has done with him was this, and when he was in NXT and they did these profiles on him and his family. And again, it was a sit-down environment where he got to go into details about his life. Mm-hmm. I find, he's a nice contrast, and he's just another example where he's not suited for that backstage, heavily scripted dialogue with another wrestler. So I thought this was a good outing for him. After Cruz leaves, Bryan tries to psychoanalyze Dolph Ziggler. Says he was drafted to SmackDown. He had the title matches with Dean Ambrose after numerous failures and then failed again. Then he battled for the IC title, won the title, and then lost it 2 weeks later. And you start to realize, yeah, this guy really has had a rough run of things. AJ's the final guest. Says he was supposed to have a singles rematch for the title. But Bryan says, well, Shane made that promise. And then AJ says how Shane is above Bryan, and then Bryan acknowledges this and says, yeah, you're right. Well, after AJ says that you're Shane's puppet. And then Bryan says, well, we had advertised Bray against Cena, and mentions the Battle Royal and that Styles will be in it. And Styles says, well, I requested my rematch before Cena. And Bryan didn't have really much explanation for this. Like, this was clearly, yeah, Cena totally just jumped the line here, and then we threw you into this three-way. And this, to me, was just... Bryan's usually really good.
What do you want from me?
Yeah,
I can't.
Fuck, I don't know.
I can't explain this shit.
That's above my pay grade. That is translation on this show for Bryan tapping out. It's like, it's above my pay grade. Yeah. I don't make those decisions.
I can only fill your logic gaps so much.
And afterwards, when AJ just stormed off, Bryan's like, he does have a point. Yeah.
The whole time I'm trying to I'm listening to AJ here. I'm trying to analyze his mentions of Shane to see if he was trying to build to something here. I didn't really get that here. If anything, he was kind of like almost using Shane to attack Bryan by saying, Shane promised me this. Now you're going off against Shane's word. So he's almost kind of like speaking in favor of Shane.
Dare I say they're teasing yet another program, and it's with Daniel Bryan. He's got a whole he's got matches with Miz, Corbin, with now AJ. Yeah. I mean, Daniel Bryan's got 18 months of programs. Alexa. Oh, that would be the best one.
Yeah. He's set. He's the hottest now than he's ever been. Anyway. The Renee afterwards started to try to break into the conversation, and she mentioned that she was only trying to break the awkwardness, and it certainly came across like a bit of an awkward segment here with AJ. And again, you run the risk of having situations like this when you're going in a more unscripted, loose format. For better or worse, some weeks, and this week, I don't know if it was necessarily for the better. They basically exposed the lack of logic in the writing of their storylines, and I don't think AJ really came across, better as a result of this.
This is the gift and the curse of talking smack, because all the time we applaud how loose it feels, and they're just playing off each other. It feels so much more organic. At the other side, I felt like this segment didn't even have bullet points. It was like each came in with their own point of view, and it's kind of that confidence that whatever you say, I can respond on the fly with. This was a case where that didn't happen, and we were just on different pages and had to tap out at the end.
The chamber was empty.
And that seems to be like, that's the out for these segments, is the talent can just get up and walk off.
Yeah.
Which happens quite a lot on the show.
When it gets so awkward, that's when it's time to just get up and leave. Yeah, I'm looking for an exit strategy. Just get up and leave.
Yes. Yeah. Which I will say, I went and rewatched part of that Cesaro-Enzo match, which I will fully say I didn't pay close to enough attention to that match on Monday when I go back.
Why?
That was a dreadful match, and I was like half watching it and just kind of noted the finish on Review of Raw, and my God, that spot of Enzo trying to get to the floor was ridiculous.
It was,
and I certainly have to give some apologies for how hard I was on Braun and Mark Henry in comparison to that match, because that was something. 205 Live began with Corey Graves telling you to sit back with your loved one for 205 Live and chill, which outside of the Steiner couple, I don't know if any couples were sitting back to 205 Live and chill on Valentine's Day. Noam Dar took on Rich Swann, and as Alicia Fox was in the ring, Morrow asked, if love is blind, why is lingerie so popular? It's a great question.
Okay.
Swann says tonight is a special night, He's back on 205 Live, and it's Valentine's Day, which got a mixed reaction from the crowd, which I liked. Dedicates this match to Alicia Fox, but says that she can't handle this. Mm-hmm. Unlike Morrow, I am not going to try and do the Alicia Fox delivery. Morrow had a great one during this match.
See, he had a really bad one.
It was great. It was great because of it.
Really bad because it was. Yeah. Anyway, I find it a little annoying that Swan, having just lost his championship not that long ago, and then
did he not get a rematch? He didn't.
He didn't.
Where's
get a
his
rematch? He was supposed to, and then he got injured. So the guy just comes off of getting, losing the title. Then he gets injured, so he can't even get the rematch for it. He comes back. He's just smiling, dancing, seemingly completely unfazed. Where I feel like it was a real opportunity for him to just come out here all fired up and pissed off and serious. He didn't necessarily have to have a mean mug the entire time, but I think coming out and dancing simply because it's the guy's gimmick, I didn't think he needed to do that today.
Yeah, it kind of just came out, and it was no reference to the title. Swan was in control. He was on the turnbuckle and then kicked by Dar and fell. Dar started trying to dance as Morrow referred to the hot stepper here, and Morrow and Corey and Austin got a kick out of this reference. Dar tied up his arms, and Swan hit a head kick. Both were down. Comeback made by Swan. Dar grabbed his legs, goes for an ankle lock. Swan rolls out, sent Dar to the floor, and then Dar used Alicia as a shield to return to the ring. There was a roll-up, used the ropes, and Swan still kicked out as Dar had grabbed hold of the rope. And then there was a lariat to the back of Swan that Graves called the Scottish sickle.
They were almost arguing about this because Morrill called it the rabbit lariat.
Yes. And Graves
Who's
said...
that named after? The rabbit lariat. Do you know?
I don't know where the origin
I don't know
but
either.
It's been
we'll have to ask Morrow. But he called it the rabbit lariat. And
maybe it was from the Big Book of Moves.
Maybe. And then they were almost Graves was almost calling him Morrow out on it, saying, I've never heard of that move before.
He said he's never seen a rabbit hit a lariat.
Yeah. Anyway, they're almost teasing him for just being a big wrestling nerd.
And then it ended with a Swan Hurricane Rana out of the corner and a Phoenix Splash off the second turnbuckle for the win at 7:52. And Dar has definitely had a more diminished role, where it's less character stuff for him and just...
Well, after the Cedric thing, after stealing the guy's girlfriend, I mean, I don't know where they can think about going with him beyond this. But, I mean, I certainly think there's a lot of potential with him. I think he and Alicia Fox are actually a lot of fun to watch together. And I would hope for just a bit more storyline and a bit more character development for him going forward.
Then we went to our face-to-face segment.
Oh, yeah.
With TJ Perkins and Neville. Neville says he would have won the Cruiserweight Classic, but then Perkins says, the reason you weren't in the tournament is because your ankles are made out of glass, and you're too busy being upset about people not swiping right on your Tinder profile.
It got no reaction from this crowd, and man, it's just these forced millennial references are really going to turn this guy heel, I think. I think it's not just the material, because Enzo, speaks very similar material. But Perkins just doesn't have the charisma or the delivery to make it seem natural or really funny. Instead, it comes across like he's just reading a script. And I don't think it's something he's really getting away with.
So then Perkins says that Neville says that you'll always be second best and not on Neville's level. Perkins calls him a broken record who's just trying to rhyme with a bad accent. And he can't even remember seeing Neville on Raw prior to this division existing. And Neville says, you'll regret saying that, which I feel Perkins will regret a lot of things he said.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel bad because, I think this guy's been really trying really hard ever since the Cruiserweight Classic, coming out here and creating a whole persona for himself, really working on his speaking ability. It's just the material's been really bad. The material has been really god-awful. And being put up there against somebody like a Neville, who seems very well developed and just at a far different level in terms of, I guess, ability to deliver lines, really exposes Perkins, unfortunately.
Then they had a feature on Gran Metalik and showing him losing in the finals to Perkins last summer. For whatever reason, there was an air horn in the middle of this, and they also subtitled Gran Metalik. So we got such insight as Gran Metalik stating in third person, Gran Metalik is the best. I bring a lot of different moves, and the most interesting, the best is here.
The best is here.
This felt like Gran Metalik's own 30 for 30 special. I just so much more familiar with the former Mosca Dorada here that I never knew about before. I bring a lot of different moves.
I mean, to me, the fact that they let guys speak in their own language and subtitled them was one of the things I loved most about the CWC. You weren't forced to have guys speak unnaturally and sound, disjointed in a language that they're not familiar with. Not that he said all that much here. He really didn't. I also don't know how good his promo is, even in Spanish. I don't know if that's even that important of a thing, in Lucha. But here, at least, they seem intent on pushing him, and they're giving him the benefit of not having to speak English in order to get over, which I think is healthy, is positive.
So Gran Metalik's match was against Drew Gulak, and started off with a Greco-Roman knuckle lock into an arm drag off the top, sending Gulak to the floor. Gulak then headbutted him in the chest. Metalik then bounced off the ropes into an arm drag that Aries said was a lot of work for just an arm drag. And then he leaped off the top into a big boot from Gulak. Crowd was getting into this. I thought the best tribute that anyone in WWE had all week for Chavo Sr. was easily done by Moro here, who spent more time than anyone else on any of the programs this week, acknowledging Chavo's passing, being the son of Gory Guerrero, because this was spurred on by Gulak using a Gory special, which I'm sure was not by accident this week. And then the match continued with Gulak being sent off the apron. Metalik did his big spot, leaping off the second rope into a swanton on the floor, and then the Metalik driver for the win at 5:27. I thought this was a decent showcase for Gran Metalik. I mean, it wasn't the kind of all-out big dives and everything for Metalik, but I mean, the crowd did get into some of his offense.
He seemed to be playing towards a large Hispanic audience here too, so I think it was... Where were they tonight?
They were in Anaheim.
Yeah, so I feel like it was a smart move to debut him in California. He looked a little bit sloppy, I'll say. There was a point where he almost got his feet caught, and thank goodness Gulak was there to capitalize on it and basically kind of save the spot. I thought he looked flashy enough and seemed to get enough of the crowd behind him to, make this definitely a positive debut. Some sloppiness off the bat may have people, the producers, concerned, but I definitely still see a lot of potential.
Akira Tozawa was in his locker room, and Brian Kendrick walked in and says Tozawa is probably intimidated around him and asks about being his protege and then explains what protege means. Akira says no and says he understands what Kendrick is saying, but he doesn't like him and walks off. The revelation, I guess, is that this foreigner understands English.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good way to, I guess, reveal that he does speak English, which is a big deal in professional wrestling.
I guess so.
Foreigner speaking the language. 205 Live, I think, is interesting because they deal with a lot more foreign talent and are forced to find ways to, I guess, push guys who aren't typically who might not even speak that much English, much less be able to cut 10-minute promo, by themselves in the ring. So the booking for it has to be a lot different. So I really do wonder, who are the writers for it and how much consideration they take that into account. But I think Tozawa, is doing well. They're giving him airtime on a show like this. They're giving him airtime 2 weeks in a row on Raw, and I don't know. I see a lot of big things for him in the division.
Main event was Neville and TJ Perkins in our non-title main event. Neville dropped him onto the top rope, and then he fell to the floor. There was a missile drop kick by Neville. He was in control, dumped Perkins to the floor again, and Graves notes how his 8-year-old son can dab. It doesn't take any skills. Perkins comes back hitting a springboard DDT, which led to an Austin Aries chant. Perkins then used an armbar. Neville lifted him up to powerbomb out, and then Neville is attacking Perkins' arm, and it leads to him applying the Rings of Saturn with the double armbar and submits Perkins at 12:25. I thought this was a very lengthy match, and maybe it's because I was comparing it to last week's main event, which got over really well, but I just didn't feel this really got into the next level.
Yeah, it was a good match. The crowd was far less cooperative this week, though, than Seattle.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And, I think part of that is because I just Gallagher, I think, is over. I think Perkins has definitely receded, though. But as much as we could say about the character or the shitty promos, I think his wrestling is still spectacular, and it's spectacularly babyface. It's just like he's just so awesome in the ring. Morrow had a line that I just wanted to note. Perkins goes for a springboard DDT for a near fall, and Morrow says, "The environmentally conscious TJP planting Neville like a tree."
I missed that. The environmentally conscious TJP.
Conscious TJP.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I also feel like Aries I'm expecting him to make his debut imminently because, they've kind of done away with the post-match interviews, which I now feel like we're probably all just done to get Aries over, as a heel. But even on commentary, he's clearly being put under direction to put himself over in any instance he can. And it's like to the point now where it's at the detriment of the matches, but to the benefit of him, which I assume is the direction.
Yes. Gallagher entered at the end and got attacked by Neville. Neville tossed his umbrella away, and then Gallagher came back with uppercuts and a headbutt as Neville bailed to the floor. So that was our only involvement for the Fastlane program involving Neville and Gallagher to end a 205 Live that was definitely not, to me,
it's not as good.
A memorable episode.
Yeah, it wasn't as good. Again, the crowd wasn't as good for it. And that makes a big difference on the show.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it was a big reason, I think, why last week's show was pretty well received by people. So there you go. That was all of your WWE programming from Tuesday night. It felt like a bit of a marathon, to be honest. It was a lot. Let us go to the Law message board, lawradio.proboards.com, where you can post your questions and comments each week. We start off with Mark from Vaughan. I enjoyed the main event and Bray's clean win. My assumption is the post-Mania program is AJ versus Orton, but I'd like to see Bray have his signature win and a meaningful title reign. Who do you think walks out of Orlando with the title?
For SmackDown, I think it'll be Orton. Actually, yeah, I do think it'll be Orton.
I wonder if there's going to be anyone that kind of takes to Bray as a bit of a babyface. See if this actually ends up helping Bray more than Orton at the end of it. I mean, the story seems to culminate with Orton winning the title, but I mean, Bray is someone fresh that I think always helps when you win the title and people feel you are at that level and you've never had the championship before. It's something new. And I mean, based on Sunday and tonight, I mean, the audience has been there for Bray.
Yeah, I wonder though if it hurts Orton to lose on a grand stage like WrestleMania after all this stuff, and I wonder if rather than continue Bray as a top heel, they want to elevate Orton into an even bigger babyface.
All right, you're up.
We go to Chupacabra from Delaware, who says SmackDown triple threat match was good. I was definitely thrown off by Orton refusing to face Wyatt and halfway expected an RKO to end the show. I also expect Orton to win the IC title soon, maybe in Orlando. 205 Live, I had to laugh when Rich Swann said he was dedicating his match to Alicia Fox. Good main event between Neville and TJP. Talking smack, my first instinct is that Luke Harper will win the Battle Royal next week, leading to a triple threat WWE match at WrestleMania. If this happens, it will be the 4th WrestleMania to feature Randy Orton in a triple threat for a major title.
I mean, that's not the worst idea. If you were to turn this into a three-way, Harper would be the one that would be logical. And that would be the only reason that maybe you would not do the reveal until WrestleMania, where you have the idea that Orton will cling on to his title shot as a backup. But then it's kind of illogical that how you get back to this being a three-way. I mean, how do you explain, well, Harper is now the number one contender, but Orton wants to have his title match back?
That's all you say.
Well, what's the point? Why are
the point is that Orton being in the match will give Bray an extra chance to retain, and then Orton turns on Bray.
I guess it's a possibility.
I don't love it as much. I mean, I feel like WrestleMania title matches should always be one-on-one. But Luke has to be involved somehow.
Next up, we go to let's go down to Paul from New Jersey. What exactly is Carmella supposed to be using James Ellsworth for? Also, do you see a push on the horizon for the Ascension, or is this as good as it's going to get for the Wasteland?
Well, they've definitely given him more airtime over the past couple of weeks, and they've given him more attention. So, do I see a push for him? Not without some real retooling. But I do. I feel like the guys haven't really had any type of fair chance since they've arrived. And, you know, they're not like blow away amazing, but I think everybody who's been on the roster for this long deserves at least a bit of a chance. And quite frankly, they're out of title challengers right now. I mean, outside of the Usos, which I think they'll burn out very soon. So put some effort behind the Ascension. Why not? I think that's deserving. They deserve it.
They deserve nothing. You earn it. All right, let's go to you.
205 and okay, we go to Larry from East LA who says, which tag team division do you think is more salvageable, Raw or SmackDown?
I think there's more interest right now, and certainly in the SmackDown side of things, because of American Alpha and the Usos. On the Raw side,
those are really the only two teams.
Well, what are the two teams on Raw that you have interest in?
Well, Enzo and Cass. I mean, they're not. I think they're always. Enzo's very over. I think they're over at least. Cesaris. It's not a bad name. Yeah. I guess.
That's a perfect reaction to that division. All right, Danny Hernandez. Morrow was really loose on commentary following the amazing SmackDown main event. Tuesday night was another excellent night of wrestling. Since Way mentioned it last night on the Raw review, the Cruiserweights really don't show off anything on Mondays compared to Tuesdays. They're the definition of filler here. There on Raw. Grand Metalik overcame his snafu at the start of his debut match because by the end I almost forgot it. I wouldn't mind a series of matches between him and Gulak. They worked well together. And asks if you've seen the trailer for the new Power Rangers movie. I haven't.
Me neither. I've only seen a still shot of Bryan Cranston as Zordon. And I never thought Bryan Cranston would play Zordon. I'm interested simply based on that.
I wasn't as big into Power Rangers. I watched a bit of it, but I can't say I was a big fan.
Well, for me, like, I feel like, man, all these, like, reboots like, they've done, the Michael Bay ones, like the Turtles and the Transformers and G.I. Joe, I've had really no interest in because I feel like they almost take them too seriously. And especially with Power Rangers, part of me, like, the appeal of it from a nostalgic standpoint is the fact that it looks so corny and it was so cheesy. Here, I mean, I worry that they'll take it too seriously and they'll actually try to make it like it's a real, serious...
How are they going to live up to that parody that they that was put up like a year ago?
What
the
parody?
Power Rangers, like the adult version of Power Rangers. Did you ever watch that?
I don't think so. No. Okay, we got a Chris from Oregon. Just two thoughts on tonight. First, kudos to the SmackDown crew for the booking of the women's division. Who would have guessed 6 months ago we'd have Alexa Bliss and Naomi as the title program, and with both women feeling like they deserved to be there. After the draft, it seemed like Raw had stronger women's division, but SmackDown has done a great job of building up a deep roster. Second, I really love the intensity of the triple threat match. Can't help but feel these three saw the amazing Owens-Jericho segment last night and felt they needed to respond by taking it to another level tonight. I'm one of the many who has been a Brave fan for a while, and I'm happy he's finally getting a title run. I'm just hoping they have him retain at Mania and make it a bit of a lengthier reign.
We go to Kevin from Vancouver. Alexa Bliss was far and away the most awkward segment in Talking Smack history. Apollo Crews for the first time came off interesting and with a motivation on Talking Smack. Main event was excellent. I mentioned the triple threat last week. I'm not saying I'm a fan of the idea, but it's hard not to see the direction being Bray, Orton, and Luke Harper. I don't see any other plan for Harper at Mania. And question here, did you see the Davey Richards, Angelina Love, Eddie Edwards turn on Impact? Did you think that they went too far with the belt choke at the end? I know it's been 9 years since the passing, but I got a little sick to my stomach. P.S. Way, I think you would enjoy Riverdale. I saw the turn. I mean, I didn't have that same
What happened?
reaction. It was Eddie Edwards going for the title against Lashley with Davey Richards in his corner. Angelina was sitting with Eddie Edwards' wife in the front row, and then Davey turned on Eddie. So I didn't mind it. At least
And
it
what
was
a belt choke? What was that?
He ended up. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think he just had a belt and just started
Choked him
choking
with the belt?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the program they're going with there with the former teammates. I thought it was the turn was fine.
What's Kevin referencing? 9 years since what passing?
The Benoit stuff, I imagine.
And the belt? Oh, belt choking?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I did you think that?
No,
watching
I
it.
didn't. No.
Okay. We got a Mr. Pollock from Townsville. Who is that dude with the long hair who is at every WWE and NXT show front row?
Way.
Yeah. It's me.
Let's just do. We got two here from Melbourne here. Yet to see Talking Smack, so forgive me if it's addressed, but why would AJ agree to a triple threat when the whole idea was his Elimination Chamber title opportunity was separate to his one-on-one rematch? He specifically mentioned one-on-one in his promo tonight, and being unfairly thrown into a triple threat does not seem to fit with the potential reasoning for a Shane match because Daniel Bryan made the match, not Shane. That being said, the triple threat match was great with a hot crowd. John, I notice you say often you're not a fan of triple threats. How come? Because they're often overdone as just a way to include as many people as possible into a match. I don't think Tuesday night was far more the exception rather than the rule in terms of match quality. And I just feel a concentrated singles program, especially as a main event, is what I prefer as opposed to your 4-ways, 3-ways.
You watch a movie, and it's typically the final scene is a duel between the protagonist and the antagonist, not necessarily two protagonists or versus two antagonists. You know, it's not as clean, and I think WrestleMania needs to have clean, conclusive endings.
Let's do one more, and then we'll wrap up.
We got Aditya from India who says, can Owens and Jericho be working their angle between the two? And could Jericho cost Goldberg the title instead of Owens?
No.
I don't think so. I think that would be one too many. I feel like they're already kind of, on the brink.
That would be bad on so many reasons,
Yeah.
too. There's no way you're topping that turn. And beating Goldberg is an awful idea ahead of WrestleMania, I will say. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback. You can always post your feedback at lawradio.proboards.com, including after tonight's NXT episode for What's Next coming out Thursday. We'll also have the MMA Report out, where I'm scheduled to have Johnny Hendricks on the show ahead of the Halifax card this weekend, as he is taking on Hector Lombard at 185 pounds. And then Friday, Keep It 2000 returns as Nate and Brian are reviewing the January 31st, 2000 episode of Monday Nitro. And then Sunday, we're back on the law, 11 p.m. Eastern time, going through all the news from the week with Dave Meltzer on the show, and we will be joined by Matt Riddle, who has been the sensation on the independent scene over the last year or so at this point now. And he will be part of the Evolve events going on next weekend as well. So that's going to wrap it up. LiveAudioWrestling.com is where you can go. YouTube.com/LiveAudioWrestling. And, of course, leave your positive reviews on iTunes.
We may or may not read them. Leave all your negative reviews on youtube.com.
Yeah, just tweet those to us.
/LiveAudioWrestling, and maybe we'll read some of those too.
And that is it for us, and we'll chat with you later on this week. Goodbye.
This is an athlete right here. This is a fine specimen.
Paul, how are you doing?
Good. Hear about the Patriots?
Yeah.